Claire Newman had never been one to back down from a challenge. It wasn't in her DNA. She had inherited that trait from her family, the same stubborn streak that made them so successful and so dangerous. But this case was proving to be more difficult than any she had tackled before. She was hunting for the truth, and the truth wasn't coming easy. The truth about Audra Charles, the missing art dealer, and Holden Novak. She had seen the signs, she had heard the whispers, but every step forward she took seemed to push her back 2 steps. It had all started when Claire had first gotten wind of the story from her sources. Audra was involved with a missing art dealer in Los Angeles, a deal gone wrong, something fatal had happened, but the details were sketchy. Claire had always been good at finding the missing pieces of a story, and this one smelled like more than just a messy transaction. Something more sinister was at play, and she was determined to uncover it. She had approached Holden Novak, the man who seemed to know the most about the situation. Holden was an enigma, calm under pressure, but there was something in his eyes that told Claire he was hiding something. They had met a few times under the guise of working together, but Claire wasn't naive. She could tell Holden was holding back, keeping his cards close to his chest. At first she had hoped he would eventually crack, that he would come clean and give her the full story, but it wasn't happening. Each time she pressed him for answers, he deflected. His answers were vague, evasive. She could sense the tension in him whenever Audra's name was mentioned. That's when she started to get the feeling that Holden wasn't just being secretive, he was scared. It wasn't long before Claire realized that Holden wasn't going to give her the answers she needed. He was hiding something bigger than he let on, and that made her even more determined to get to the bottom of it. One evening, after another failed attempt to get Holden to open up, Claire had reached her breaking point. She couldn't keep chasing him in circles, hoping he would reveal the truth. She had to find another way. Holden had called her earlier that day to meet him, but when she arrived at their usual spot, he wasn't there. It wasn't like him to stand her up, but there was a certain finality in the air when she realized he wasn't coming. She sat down alone at the bar, nursing her drink, staring into the empty space in front of her. It was then that she made a decision. She was done with Holden Novak. She sent him a simple text: "We shouldn't see each other anymore. I need someone who can be honest with me." Holden never replied. That was the last straw, but Claire wasn't going to let this go, not now, not after everything she had invested in uncovering the truth. She had already come too far and there was no turning back. The next day, Claire sat at her desk, deep in thought. She had spent the entire night going over everything she knew about Audra, Holden, and the missing art dealer. The details were hazy, but there was one thing Claire was sure of. Holden had been involved in something that led to a fatal accident. She just needed proof. That's when the idea hit her. If Holden wasn't going to give her the full story, she needed another way to get it. Someone else who might be able to get to Audra, someone who knew how to get into her head. Claire needed Kyle Abbott. She knew Kyle had a history with Audra. They had been tangled up in a fake seduction drama not long ago, something that had tested the boundaries of their relationship. But Claire knew Kyle. She knew he could get close to Audra without raising any suspicion. If anyone could break through Audra's defenses, it was him. She wasn't sure if Kyle would agree, but she didn't have time to waste. This was her only option. She picked up her phone and called him. "Kyle," she said, her voice calm but firm, "I need you to do something for me." Kyle's voice was skeptical on the other end. "What's the favor this time, Claire?" "I need you to seduce Audra," Claire said bluntly. "Get close to her, find out everything you can about what happened in Los Angeles." There was a long pause. Claire could almost hear the wheels turning in Kyle's mind. "You want me to what?" Kyle finally asked. "I know it sounds crazy, but I need you to get close to her, make her believe you want her, use that spark you two still have between you, get her talking, and then come back to me with the truth." Kyle scoffed. "You're out of your mind, after everything that happened with Audra." "I know it's risky," Claire said, "but I can't do this alone. You're the only one who can get the information I need." Kyle hesitated again. "And what do I get out of this?" Claire's voice softened. "I'll make sure you get what you deserve. This isn't about you and Audra, this is about getting the truth." Kyle exhaled. "Fine, I'll do it, but don't expect this to be easy." Claire smiled, even though he couldn't see it. "I'm counting on you." Kyle reluctantly agreed, and just like that, Claire had one of her most valuable assets on her side. But she knew this wouldn't be easy. Audra was smart, manipulative, and dangerous in her own way. Getting the truth out of her would take more than just a simple seduction. Kyle would have to dig deeper, play the game carefully, and make sure not to let his emotions cloud his judgment. The plan was in motion. Kyle's approach to Audra had always been complicated. There was something about her that intrigued him, something that made him feel both repelled and drawn to her at the same time. The fake seduction in Nice had been a twisted game, but it had also been a way for him to expose her intentions, and she had definitely been trying to manipulate him for Victor. But now Claire had a different request. It wasn't about the fake seduction anymore, it was about getting to the truth. He found Audra at the bar one evening just like old times. She was sitting alone, casually sipping a drink, her back to him. He could tell she was lost in her thoughts, probably scheming something. He slid into the seat next to her. "Mind if I join you?" Audra didn't look up, but she didn't push him away either. "Kyle," she said coolly, "what do you want?" "I'm just here to talk." Audra finally turned to face him, her eyes narrowing. "Since when do we just talk?" "Since I realized we still have unfinished business," Kyle replied, his voice low and smooth. Audra raised an eyebrow. "Unfinished business, what's that supposed to mean?" Kyle leaned in slightly, his tone becoming more intimate. "You know as well as I do that there's still something between us. You don't just kiss someone like that and forget about it." Audra's expression flickered, but she quickly masked it. "What are you really after, Kyle?" Kyle smirked. "Nothing you don't want to give me." The tension between them was undeniable, thickening with each word. Audra was trying to keep her cool, but Kyle could see the subtle shift in her demeanor. She was intrigued, just as he'd hoped. "I don't have time for games," Audra said, standing up. "Who said anything about games?" Kyle asked, standing up with her. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "I just think you and I have some unfinished business to take care of." Audra didn't move away, but her guard was still up. "You're wasting my time." Kyle smiled, his charm taking over. "Am I?" She didn't respond, but Kyle could tell she wasn't entirely dismissing him. Not yet, he had her attention. Meanwhile, Claire was waiting for any news from Kyle. She knew getting Audra to open up wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that Kyle had a way of making things happen, no matter how complicated it got. As she waited, Claire's mind raced through the possibilities. Holden was still hiding something, and Audra, for all her charm and cunning, wasn't foolproof. She had secrets, secrets that Claire was determined to uncover, no matter what it took. Kyle's connection with Audra could be the key to unraveling the mystery of the missing art dealer, but if Kyle got too close to Audra, too emotionally involved, it could complicate things. Claire wasn't naive. She knew that having him seduce Audra wasn't just about getting the truth, it was also about manipulating the situation for her own gain. She would do whatever it took to expose the truth. Across town, Devon Winters was struggling with his own revelations. Lily, Matty, and Charlie were missing, and every new piece of information he uncovered made the situation even murkier. He couldn't trust Kane, not anymore, not after everything that had happened. The pieces were starting to fit together, but not in a way that made sense. Kane was involved in something bigger than he had let on, and Devon knew that if he didn't get answers soon, everything he cared about would be torn apart. Victor Newman's grip on everything was tightening, and in the midst of all this chaos, Claire was looking for her moment to strike. As the days passed, Kyle and Audra's conversations became more charged. The tension was building, Claire's plan was taking shape, and the pieces were falling into place. It was only a matter of time before someone cracked.